Now, there are a number of things that the elders have asked me specifically to deal with, and this is one of them, that it is. Both the Apostles' Creed and the Athanasian Creed take the time to confess that Jesus descended into hell, and we're getting ready to say the Athanasian Creed. On the back of your sermon notes, we have the Athanasian version of this statement in the third paragraph, the first sentence, which reads, "Who suffered for our salvation, descended to hell, rose from the dead, ascended to heaven, and is seated at the Father's right hand. From there he will come to judge the living and the dead." That is, right there, that third paragraph, supposed to be the basic gospel. Some people have wondered if this descent into hell is a necessary part of the gospel, and some wonder, not even if it is a necessary part, if it is even a true part. Well, it is Peter who preached about Jesus' descent into hell in the first sermon recorded in the book of Acts right after the Pentecost, or during it. Acts 2:29. "Men and brethren," said Peter, "let me speak freely to you of the patriarch David, that he is both dead and buried, but," verse 30, "being a prophet," verse 31, "he spoke concerning the resurrection of Christ, that his soul would not be left in Hades." So it is biblical to believe in this descent, but is it a necessary part of the gospel? Isn't it enough to say that Jesus died? Yes. Yes, it is enough. To say Jesus died is enough, for what is death but the division of the spirit and the body? When we bury someone in the ground, we don't believe the spirit is still in the body. That is why they're dead. So when Jesus' body was placed in the ground, where was his spirit? Peter gave his first sermon on where it was in Acts 2, but he writes the same thing in his epistle, 1 Peter 3:18. "Christ suffered once for sins, the just for the unjust, that he might bring us to God, being put to death in the flesh, but made alive by the Spirit, by whom also he went and preached to the spirits in prison." Now tell me, where is a prison fit for spirits? In Hebrew, it is called Sheol. In Greek, it is called Hades. In English, it is called hell. It is the prison of the dead. Now, some wonder, especially in our circles, if we ought to stop translating it as hell and leave it untranslated as Hades. For this place will be cast into the lake of fire in the day of judgment, Revelation 20:14. This prison of spirits, therefore, isn't eternal. So perhaps the lake of fire, and not this prison, ought to be named hell instead. Now, great men I respect think so, and God bless them. I respect them in so many ways. But my preference for keeping the traditional Christian lingo is that what destroys death and hell in Revelation, what causes the fire of the lake of fire, is God's presence. Revelation 14:10. "They shall be tormented with fire and brimstone in the presence of the holy angels and in the presence of the Lamb." Now, I think the problem of renaming God's presence as hell is not only confusing, but rebarbative. I prefer saying Jesus descended into hell. I don't want to say he rose to it and is coming again with hell. But Christian, in light of the fact that we will all be in God's fiery presence, whose brightness can brook no sin, this reminds us of our need to confess. So hear this from Psalm 34:18. "The Lord is near to those who have a broken heart, and saves such as have a contrite spirit."